So things have been getting from bad to worse. Kath is giving an ultimatum to Lancelot. Guinevere's life is sheer utter suffering and trauma. The rest of the 4 knights are probably cooked, and the Holy Grail knights might no longer exist at some point soon. So, that's the cliff notes as to what you should expect from chapter 247, because this one was a doozy. And it changes the entire trajectory of the story going forward, and gives an idea of what I expected last week, what would happen after the end of the last chapter. Ends up coming true, and I actually kinda like it, but we'll get into that when we jump into the actual full chapter. So let's just jump straight into things, but before that, don't forget to check out my second channel, GW Comics, if you want to see me doing stuff outside of anime and manga, primarily comic books. It's a lot of fun, it's a side project of mine, and I really would appreciate if you guys go check it out whenever you get the chance. Link me in the description down below. And if you want to support the channel more directly, go and check out my Patreon, link in the description, where first tier and beyond members will not only get access to my Patreon exclusive Discord server, you will also get access to monthly manga reviews of Ichi the Witch. Yes, I'm going to be covering Ichi the Witch on my Patreon every single month in massive batch reviews, and I'm working on a video for that right now that should be out within the first week or two of August. So I've got something really fun for you guys coming up down the pipeline on Patreon. So if that interests you, go and check it out in the link in the description. Now, let's get into the actual chapter. Chapter 247 of 4 Nights of the Apocalypse, titled Darkness Comes So We May Recognize Love. Cover image is of Lancelot and Guinevere as they're sitting down on a hill looking at the countryside. Yeah, this is going to be such a nice and wholesome chapter, isn't it? So we're cut in directly from last week, where Guinevere is held in front of Lancelot and the gang as a hostage for Kath. And now, everyone is meeting Kath Palug for the very first time. Lancelot calls out to Guinevere as Percival and Tristan end up thinking, oh, is this the one that Lancelot holds dear? With Galahad confirming that that is his mom, or more so questioning if that is what his mom looked like in the past. Guinevere begins to regain consciousness, notices Lance, says his name, and then starts crying out with tears in her eyes. Gawain begins to try and use teleportation, from what I can tell with the hand gesture, to try and teleport either the gang close to Kath to free Guinevere, or to teleport Guinevere away from Kath. But, and this is something that I actually had to zoom in on to be sure, Kath tells him not to do any funny business or he'll tear her to shreds, as we see a couple of eye tendril type things with mouths on them surrounding the group, showcasing that he does kind of have them surrounded, and once they do something, he'll insta-kill her. So, Lancelot tells Gawain to hold off, as at this point, yeah, it seems like the hostage is working, and it seems like Kath might actually be able to kill her before Lancelot or anyone else can do anything based off the position. Kath is giddy that his hostage is actually working, and ends up calling out to think that Lancelot was Guinevere's secret lover, huh? As he says that if he found it odd with the words that Guinevere said to her, like, right after the wedding, and that the humans vanished from Camelot right afterwards. He wondered if there was any human that could pull that off, it'd have to be Lancelot. And so, his animal instincts kicked in, and he had a very fun idea. As we cut to the corpses and beheaded heads of the king and queen of Camelot, as Kath gleefully says that he took Guinevere hostage, as well as her parents, and man, he says how she wasted no time in saying who exactly was behind it. As Guinevere looks down onto the ground to see her dismembered, dead parents. My god, this has just not been her week. Like, this is probably the worst day of her life. But Kath mocks Guinevere's cries from when he had her captive, as he basically tries to mimic her, saying, oh, please don't do anything to Lancelot. But Gawain comes in and states the obvious. If Kath does anything to Guinevere, Lancelot will literally send them straight to hell. Granted, they don't have any Arthur-enhanced weapons right now, but Lancelot's holding ysaye's spear, and there have been theories in the comments that maybe his spear was made with the blood of chaos magic through Arthur. So that could be something interesting to potentially see in the future. That might be it, for all we know. But Kath, showing some actual forethought, says that, oh, you don't have to tell me, I know that all too well. Even if I obtained every piece of chaotic power, there's still no guarantee that I would be able to win against them because Lancelot is just that strong. So Cath, which let's be honest, Cath overestimates and underestimates himself and others so often. This might not even be true, but he is being cautious at this point after, suffering humiliating defeat of the Sins after he lost to them so badly, that he's just saying that he thinks that even if he had all of Arthur's chaos magic, all the power of chaos, he would still lose to Lancelot because he's just that damn strong. Granted, Lancelot, not only physically in terms of combat prowess, he is insanely powerful, but his whole river of infinite magic does basically make it so that he can potentially overpower Cath in just sheer magical force. So right now, Cath is kind of being, cautious right now, saying that this is an all or nothing wager, and it all hinges on Lancelot's quality as a human being. And everyone's kind of wondering what that means, as Lancelot takes the spear and points it directly at his neck, saying, look, if you're after my life, you can have it. You just have to give Guinevere back. And this shocks everybody, Galahad included, who, let's be honest, the entire chapter, he's just going to be saying dad and mom the entire chapter. Like, this is all Galahad is going to say or do. Same with all the Holy Grail Knights. Granted, they're in a very precarious situation, but I feel like Galahad could have said potentially a little bit more in this chapter, but it is what it is. Anyway, they're telling him not to do anything stupid, with even Guinevere shouting out for him not to do that. And Lance tries to reaffirm, tell me, monster, is this what you want or not? Fully willing to give up his whole life to save Guinevere from Cath and assistance if that's what it takes. I did not expect Lancelot to literally, fully fall in love with Guinevere so quickly in this entire stretch of the story post-time skip, but okay, that's literally all this comes down to. That could be my one real criticism. While the relationship, barring the age gap, honestly, is genuinely pretty well done, I will say, Lancelot being this head over heels for Guinevere and in love with her does feel like kind of premature. There hasn't been enough time with the two of them, meeting back up, coming together, and talking and all that stuff, save for that one last moment back in Camelot when he was giving people the teleportation tags, when they had that one nice quiet moment where they talked. That was it. For the 2 years those two were apart, save for those two short conversations that Lancelot had post-Leonis arc. They have been separated for over 2 years, and yet after he meets her again for the first time, he starts falling in love, and then the second this happens, he has all these feelings fully, cemented. But at this point, I think I'm just arguing semantics. Either way, Lance is offering up his life to Cath, and wanting Cath to affirm if this is what he wants or not. But in a pretty sinister looking panel of Cath, he actually says that, dude, I don't want to kill you. I want to destroy the world. And killing you would actually go against this. Why? Because he wants to form a contract with Lancelot that he needs to agree to in order for what he wants to do to work. He literally tells Lancelot, accept the chaos that I have, and accept it along with my own wicked will. I'll hold up my end of the bargain, and I swear I'll never harm your precious Guinevere. Refuse, and I suppose I'll have you defeat me, but your darling Guinevere will join me in that ride. So he's literally saying, look, accept my terms, save Guinevere, and become my new vessel. And I was right. A lot of people had this theory, let's be honest. A lot of people had this theory as a possible, endpoint for this interaction. And I was not expecting it to go down this way. But realistically, based off of everything that Cath has gone through in the last 48 hours, effectively, this might be his best bet, because he might have Merlin sent, but he probably isn't guaranteed to overpower Arthur and Merlin by himself and in a more weakened state. And with Lancelot still around, as well as the rest of the Sins still being alive, he has basically no other options to kind of fulfill his plan to just complete destruction. So, making Lancelot the strongest character willingly become his vessel is his best option right now. And I do like how he's actually thinking about this, even though he's like, look, at the end of the day, if I die, I die, but I'm taking this girl with me to screw with you. I've said it once and I've said it before, Cath is the pettiest bitch in all of anime. The pettiest bitch of an antagonist and villain in manga and anime at this point. Now then, many of you probably think that Cath might be bluffing, and that's exactly what the rest of the four knights are thinking. that this is insane, he's probably bluffing, he's not going to go through with it. But then Kath, just to spite them and show that he's being serious, starts to stab Guinevere in the side. And just live torture for everybody. As Kat says, look, no talking out of turn, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to start carving. But as he says this, and Lancelot is telling Kat to stop, Guinevere starts to laugh in Kat's face. And when he asks why, Guinevere actually has a really good and incredibly sad speech to Kat, saying that this whole situation is just funny to me, effectively. Saying that he killed her parents and so many of her citizens. He's effectively taken everything away from her. The people she needed to love, the home she needed to return to, even her value as a hostage, that's all gone. And then she smugly looks towards Kath, saying that he should have studied more about people before coming here. Asking, do you think any lone person is worth exchanging for the entire world? As Guinevere looks down at Lancelot, tears in her eyes as she's forcing a smile, telling him that he has so many precious people in his life. A great father and a mother that she would have loved to meet, but she's sure was also just as great. So many wonderful friends, the fairies in Benwick that value him so much, telling him that for the sake of them all and the world, just kill him, save the world, and after all that is said, in some corner of your heart, try to remember me, as more tears drop from her eyes. And this is something that I zoomed in on, which is actually a pretty nice detail. It looks like all the teardrops have images of the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse in them, and this is pretty interesting in terms of it could be symbolism for the fact that these potential futures are going away now that she has seen in her dreams thanks to her ability, or it's just reflections of the 4 main characters seeing her ready and willing to accept her death. And I'm not gonna lie, this is so sad. Like, Guinevere as a character is genuinely kind of tragic, if you really think about it. I might save this for a full video if I really think about it, but cliff notes here. She is someone from, effectively, the moment she's born, or old enough to understand things, every night, almost every night, she will get random visions of the future in great detail of her own future and the futures of those that are close to her. And thus, she basically has a roadmap for her entire life, and she's just following the motions of that, knowing every good thing and every bad thing. So many horrific things could happen in the future, and all she can do is wait for it to happen, because she knows how everything ends. And she also knows that if people try to defy this type of fate, then the future could change and have horrible repercussions. And now, we are most likely in one of those bad futures for defying fate that can go back all the way, if we really think about it, maybe to Jade's death, which fully changed how things went. Because from what we can tell, they weren't even supposed to go to the Demon Realm arc, and Jade was supposed to stay alive before the time skip happened. Because of Kath trying to change the future, ends up just genuinely screwing everybody at the end of the day. And we're in a very bad future now. Because from what we can tell, Guinevere probably didn't even see any of this situation happening. Her parents being killed by Kath in this way, her being used as a hostage for Lancelot. Like, genuinely, from her reactions, she seems to have not known that this exact future was coming. But she knew that a dark future was coming from the death of Bon in the future. And right now, seemingly, is the near future. And man, this is so sad. Because now she is just having to accept her own death and tell the person that she loves the most right now to let her die and remember her, because he has all the things right now that she no longer has. That is on so many levels. Guinevere is definitely a very tragic character. But yeah, after saying this, Kath is getting pissed because now he thinks after her saying this, Lance is gonna kill him. And so he's like, are you really willing to throw your life away like this? As he takes a blade that he created from his own body and starts poking at her throat to just kill her instantly. And Tristan is shouting to Lancelot to just bear with it and hold on. But Lancelot instantly accepts Kath's terms, willing to become the vessel of his chaos and wicked evil will. And this shocks everybody. Kath is just flabbergasted because this shows that he didn't fully expect this to work. And he is just like, holy shit, did he actually say yes? Oh man, I was just running with the vibes on this one. I was fully expecting to die here, but okay. That's what that face is showing me. Guinevere's is sheer heartbreak and despair. Same with Tristan and Percival, with Gawain having to look away with his decision. Galahad is just in utter shock as his younger version of his father is willing to give himself up to save the past version of his mother. And this could have some implications for the Holy Grail Knights in their future now. So now we're witnessing the greatest knight ever accepting the power and full-on will of the villain of the entire story. And Kath is just elated by this, saying that he can't believe his wager actually worked out, and that the strongest shall now turn into the most diabolical being of all time. Percival is still in disbelief over Lancelot's decision, but Lancelot still holds a smile on his face as Kath is spiraling in the air, getting ready to inhabit his body, as Lance just says, "Tell everyone they better kill me." And Tristan grabs onto Lancelot's shirt, asking him why, to tell him why he went with this decision. As Lancelot just responds, "What would you have done?" And this instantly brings Tristan to tears, because he fully understands and knows that he probably would have done the exact same thing if this was Isolde in this situation. These two know each other so well, and even though Tristan is like angry that Lancelot is willing to give up his own life, he fully understands and knows that he would have been in this exact situation and made the exact same choice. And this is heartbreaking, especially now for Tristan, because he's known Lancelot since they were infants, since they were babies. They are practically brothers at this point. They are best friends and brothers. And having to see your brother have to give himself up like this in front of you, and you fully understanding this entire decision, is heartbreaking. And Tristan is right now kind of accepting this while still holding on to Lancelot for maybe some hope of stopping it. But Percival jumps up into the air to try and stop Kath from fully taking over Lancelot, but Kath seemingly instantly whacks him away. And right as Kath is beginning to try and invoke Lancelot in this huge ray of light, Lancelot pushes Tristan back as Percival has to hold back Tristan. And his last words to his friends are that Tristan and Percival better stop him. And he tells Gawain that no matter what, if they wimp out on this, she better beat some sense into them so that they can get right back on task. As he then looks at Galahad, as Galahad is looking at his future father, just in utter disbelief, as a huge black energy torrent fully engulfs Lancelot, as the rest of the four knights just shout his name in complete horror. And the very end of the chapter, we see in a dark space Guinevere and Lancelot speaking one last time, as she says that he's an idiot for doing all this. But Lancelot says, "Yeah, I know I'm an idiot, but I'm sure my dad would completely understand." But Guinevere just says that he should have just left her alone. But Lancelot gets down towards her and says, "But you're not alone. I'd never let you be." As they look in each other's eyes, and as the light fades away, the two of them hug. And that is how the chapter ends. Okay, genuinely, this is a good chapter. I'm not gonna lie. Look, Lancelot becoming the antagonist was not on my bingo card for Four Knights of the Apocalypse to actually up the stakes of the story. But this does a lot. Like, this makes Lancelot probably, I think, the strongest character in the entirety of Seven Deadly Sins, now full 100%, with the sadistic and evil nature of Kath. That is crazy. He's got the power of chaos now, along with his infinite stores of magic power, and his insanely, just overpowered physical body. Like, Lancelot, oh my god. He is the main villain. I did not expect that to happen. I don't know how this is going to progress going on in the future. And I guess this was a good way for Nakaba to just balance the scales of the stakes without coming up with some other type of bullshit to weaken Lancelot or Kath. And this pushes the rest of the four knights to get stronger as well, because now they don't have the safety net of Lancelot around anymore. That is interesting, I'm not gonna lie. I have to wait and see how this turns out, but like, I can see now where the story might be going from here, and I am intrigued, I'm not gonna lie. This actually might end up being really fun. And, funnily enough, we're inching very close to the exact same chapter mark of pre-time skip. Right now, we are just 9 chapters away from literally having the exact same chapter count as part 1. Which leads us to believe, and me to believe, that we're going to be ending part 2 with a big, just one-sided fight of Chaos Lancelot against the 4 Knights and the Holy Grail Knights. And that's going to end part 2 with everybody needing to go on a training arc and potentially have to save Arthur from Cath now. Because if Cath now is in possession of Lancelot's body, he might have access to his memories and will now know where Arthur and Merlin are. So yeah, the stakes of the story just quadrupled in just an instant. I was not expecting this. Now the question is, will Cath keep his word? I think since he made this a contract, I think he does have the word of not harming Guinevere. Whether or not he'll leave Guinevere with the rest of the crew and just dip, I got no idea. Or if he's going to take her prisoner in a tower again. But who knows? That's future 4 Knights stuff to think about. And lastly, the Holy Grail Knights. What's going to go on with them now? Because I can see them teaming up with the remaining members of the 4 Knights in order to get stronger and be able to actually, fight Chaos Lance and potentially free him for all we know. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work out. Because I think we're probably going to go with Dragon Ball Z time travel rules, where the Grail Knights came back in time, their timeline's still intact, but now they're in a branching off new timeline that just happened now, that they have no clue what's going to happen next. I think that's going to be the case because the only other option is that we back to the future it, and that the past changed and so the future no longer exists and the Holy Grail Knights are either ceasing to exist or cannot return to their future and are stuck in the past. I think that's what's going to happen. But I do have some more thoughts on the Holy Grail Knights that I might get into in a different video before or after the next chapter, depending on how things go. But you guys let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. How do you feel about this chapter? What do you think about Lance now being the main villain of the story? And if that's a good decision or not? What do you think is going to happen? What's the fate of the Holy Grail Knights? Do you think the 4 Knights are going to be able to get strong enough over time to deal with a chaos-imbued Lancelot? Let me know. And once again, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. We are on the cusp of 40,000 subscribers, and my goal is to reach 50 before the year ends. So let's try and aim for that point as quickly as possible. And with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hope you all have an awesome day.